Hi guys, we're live around the Ecomiverse, episode 39. We got your boy Crypto Rain, the real Randy Chavez, and Doctor of Stuff today. Woo! Let's get this party started. Yeah. So, what's news for you guys on the Ecomi front? Are you guys buying anymore, or you finished buying?
Yes, these prices, absolutely.
Randy,
Ran into my friend on Saturday, and after a copious amount of alcohol, we had finally gotten into finance. And I remember about 2 to 3 years in 2020, we were in the same exact spot in his backyard, and I was like playfully like showing him. I was like, "Can you please put $100,000 into Tesla, please? Like I know you have." And he's like, "I got a little bit, bro. I can't." So I reminded him of that. And I was like, "Don't you wish you bought more Tesla?" He's like, I do. I was like, okay, this is me telling you right now, I have more confidence in Omi than I did in Tesla in 2020. And he knew how big of a Tesla bull I was. So he bought 7.5 million Omi, and he'll get a little bit more over the next couple months, as long as we're down at this area. So
awesome, Doctor. Doctor, you still buying? Because I know you got to your. Did you get to your target?
Oh man, I haven't gotten to my target yet. 50 million. No, I'm still stacking. But yeah, someone just reached out to me in the DMs. They're like, "What's going on with the Omi price? Are you still buying at these prices?" And I was like, "I mean, I'm buying more. I'm like moving stuff around to get more. Like, it could go down more, right? Or it could go up again. But here's the thing, that Omi has now shown that with the announcement of utility, there's a lot of people who are willing to start purchasing that, and that price went up so substantially from there, right? So I think that as more utility comes, as more announcements are made, we still can't use our MCP points, so it's great that it's adding more MCP points and things, but like, I mean, I tweeted that out a little bit where I was just like, I love some of the things McFarlane's doing, but like we need to start being able to use our points. Like, it's been a long time, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it was like April or something is when points, or even maybe March of this year, where points really started to be calculated and things. That's 6 months of that calculation. Now it's taken some time for them to, I mean, I've seen as recently as last week people saying, "Oh, my points finally updated correctly to what they should be," right? So that's taken a long time, but I would really love to start seeing that utility. And I talked about that with like how with the DC Comics Batman #1 drop, like, because the cow holders got something like for holding different things, right? And Dan and David talked about that in the past. They're like, well, let's say that like you own seasons 1 through 5 of Batman Black and White, and then there's this Black and White drop. You get whitelisted for that. Like, where is that stuff, right? Like, we're seeing a lot of other people do that, a lot of other projects doing that. It's time. It's definitely time. But where I'm going with all of that is there's still people who are frustrated, and the prices dipping again. You got whales who are selling, and I still believe in that utility, and I still believe in that long-term vision. And so I'm like, I didn't even know the price was down today. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. But if it's down, I'm like, okay, well, now I got to look and see if I can move some funds around and buy it right now. So yes, I'm definitely still stacking, man.
Once Comic-Con's over, I'll get more.
Rain, you still buying?
Yes. Well, what's funny about that statement is the person asking Doctor of Stuff, and this is just kind of when people are new, they're trying to figure it out, and you're always, whenever you're new at anything, you're always bad before you're good, and it's okay. There's no better place for you to be bad than here, talking to these people here, and just we're new, and so it's kind of like, oh, the prices have gone cheap again. Why would I buy more at cheap prices? I like buying at expensive prices. Just to illustrate kind of how sometimes when we're new, we have it backwards. We want to buy at expensive prices instead of like buying at cheap prices. So it's come back down, and probably he's asking, look, are things still going to do well with Omi, is inherent in his question, right? And he's just like, oh my gosh, it's going down. I'm scared. And it's just an understanding of crypto comes in waves and cycles. And a lot of the spotlight is off crypto right now. It will come on it. We saw a run today where in China, they started buying Bitcoin massively. And this is going to happen in the world again. And everyone's eyes will turn to crypto and Bitcoin again. And then OMI will really, really run. And that's what we're waiting for. We're not waiting for a short-term utility pump where people start to see that there's some utility. Often when you have a run up like this, you'll then have a pullback before further runs up. So it's these pullbacks that create good windows to buy and pick up more. And so we look for these. So when it was running up some more, I was like, well, dang it. Hopefully it comes back down because I'd like to increase my position even further. And that's played out exactly like that. So I get excited again. I'm like, okay, it's at 0.8 cents. Which is a fantastic price, or 0.08 cents, excuse me. That's a fantastic price. Yes, definitely anything under 0.1 cents is a fantastic price in my opinion. Even 0.1 cents is a great price. It's just we're at a really, really, really good price.
Awesome. I can see Bill Garner said he's waiting for 100x before he sells, and he's only buying now. And I think that's the right attitude. And that's my attitude as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, I think my computer's still struggling with the comments. It's okay. It's working. So, who's excited for that Aladdin and the genie drop? That looks amazing. That looks really cool.
I think that'll do really well. I think they kind of, I don't know, I want to say they messed up. I think they tried to experiment a little bit, saying, okay, well, the rest of these sold out with these Disney drops. Let's try something different with the Tinkerbell drop. And just 3 of the same character, it didn't do that well. But now you have 3 collectibles, but it's 3 different characters. They're all really beloved. I think this will sell out pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
I think it's going to sell out, and I'm bugged because I didn't get that the wait list for the Elsa drop that sold out either. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping this time that I get because I'm collecting the pencils. I had not read the Medium article where it kind of went in a little bit more about the animation desk and how the names of some of these collectibles could change, the series could change, and I was like, something's going on with this animation desk. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I saw something about it. Ready?
Yeah. Let's see. 1 airdrop pencil per disclaimer. The above release order series. No. Collectibles says the collectibles may change over the course of the animation desk program.
Yeah.
So
animation
I think what they mean by
program.
that. Yeah, or maybe it wasn't final. Hey, we wanted to do Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, Lion King, etc. And then maybe at some point they could have said, well, instead of Aladdin, we'll be doing Pocahontas or something. That's how I interpreted that. The above visualization, the animation desk may change prior to crafting. So I guess that means they could go and instead of having Genie do its thing that it is doing, maybe he's suddenly in the street where he's singing Prince Ali or something like that. I don't know, but that was just my interpretation of
it. Does anybody know what this Yoda announcement legit business is about?
On the comic, yeah. There's a comic for Yoda.
Are you talking about Cryptoys?
Yeah, because Cryptoys had a thing where if you get the entire set of Cryptoys, then you get airdropped to Yoda, I think. But that was really expensive to do because there's no marketplace. You'd have to go and buy probably $1,000 worth of stuff in order to get it. Because the only way you can get all of that is by going and buying, because there's no marketplace. So you have to buy from the store until you get each rarity, which is stupid. But I am glad that they went and said, hey, we're going to do a buy one, get one now. Meaning if you buy one, you get 2 of them. So I think that's a really good way that they can go and just sell more product. And it's easier to help people get the entire set for Yoda then. So maybe you don't have to spend $1,000. Maybe you spend $500.
I'm going to call BS on that, man. That's pretty upsetting because I dropped some serious cash early on I get jack squat for that. So all the people who bought early, we got screwed royally by that. So I think that that's freaking messed up. Like, yes, I get it. Airdrop us, airdrop everyone else that freaking purchased before that program. That's bullcrap, man. Because now someone could pay half of what I did, get the same stuff minted. I did not. I was shame on them. That just screwed people. I am super upset about that.
So you're upset that some people can get double the product for the same price?
Yes, as I've already spent. Now, yes, I can do it again. Like I still have that opportunity. But if I had just waited, then I'd have double what I have. So like it really screwed the early people who believed in the product first and minted first. And now they're incentivizing others. So I get the sale tactic. I'm not criticizing the sale tactic. They need to, but I got screwed, right? Someone who paid as much as me has twice the opportunity, and I didn't get any grails. I think I have like 16 Cryptoys or something like that, you know? So that's bullcrap, man. That's bullcrap. I'm not happy with that.
So I had two feelings there. Yes, you have like if VeVe did it, there would be riots because VeVe has that marketplace, and they're saying, okay, now if we try to sell ours even a little bit below retail, now they're saying, oh, now we can get 2 for 1. That really takes the legs out of under the people trying to sell. But with Cryptoys, because they don't have a marketplace, I felt like it was slightly better. And also like this, I feel like this happens a lot of times in the real world. Like Tesla cuts their prices all the time. Do people that paid, let's say, $38,000 or $40-something thousand for a car, and now with a new tax credit, or Tesla just decides to cut the prices, do they feel a little bit salty? They should have waited. Yeah, I guess. But I just like it happens. It's not specific to just Cryptoys, and I also feel like Cryptoys spent a lot of money on their marketing, just with iJustine and that guy from TikTok, and I don't think they've made a ton, whether it's from He-Man or this collection. So if I'm invested in Cryptoys and I'm thinking, okay, I have one of two options, and I'm not sure this is why they did it. I'm just putting this as a scenario. If either they could choose to not do this at all, and not sell as much product, and then maybe because of that, they don't have enough for payroll, or they don't have enough for other licenses, or don't have enough for other, or they go and they do this, they kind of flood the market a little bit, they devalue my product, but at least my product will, hopefully this will get them over a hump where, okay, now we can put out a marketplace, now we can do this. Again, I don't know if that's why they did it, and I understand like that sucks, but I just want another competitor or another platform to be successful and them to not go down. And if this helps them not go down, I'm kind of for it.
I'm for it too. Don't get me wrong, right? But there are ways to still not screw your original holders. There's airdrops or something that they could have done. They could have done something, but instead, I don't care about diluting the market cap. It's the fact that like I had less chances to try to get all of the collectibles to get the Yoda that someone else now does. So not only like does it devalue like or dilute the market, but like I could have had twice the amount of chances to get the Yoda. That I still have to buy stuff to get the Yoda. And so like not only did they dilute it, but then other people had a better chance and opportunity of getting the Yoda than I did. And so like it's like I got doubly screwed. Do I want Cryptoys to succeed? Absolutely, I do. We do need more competition in this space. And I've talked about some of the things that Cryptoys has done. But give me a break that they couldn't, that I can't believe that no one sat down and said, hey, Will, what about the people who have already paid lots of money? Is there something that we can do, right? Maybe there's a third Yoda or something like that they just get airdropped, and like something to say, hey, we recognize that you guys have done this, but yeah, to move forward, like we need additional funds or we need to sell out. I get that. I'm all for that, right? But man, like that just left such a nasty taste in my mouth. Like I just right now, I'm like, I can't deal with Cryptoys.
You're done with Cryptoys.
I'm not minting the Mickey Mouse. And so like that's the other risk is so they've sold more, right? But then all of the original people who got screwed, I'm not spending more money right now. So now they're out where I was looking towards the Mickey one and being like, okay, like there's going to be the Minnie Mouse, right? That could be technically FA, the 3D Minnie Mouse character. Oh no, not Minnie Mouse.
They're Pluto.
It was the Pluto. Yeah, right. FA Pluto 3D character or something like that. And I'm just like, no, because like, what are you going to do next to screw me? Like right now, that's kind of like my feeling, and I just it's disappointing that they didn't do something like that. So, but look, mad props to. I've seen some people who have stacked. I mean, I thought I had an okay stack. I've seen some people with some crazy stacks. This guy's got like working on a 6th Ultra Grail Yoda or something. You know, I mean that is took 14 seconds to show all of his different collections of Cryptoys. So there's definitely some people stacking on that, and good for them. But yeah. Anyways, I'll leave it alone now. But that's my feelings for Cryptoys.
I agree. I can't find a good argument. Maybe I was just trying to make excuses, but yeah, it's and okay, maybe they do sell a little bit more now on this drop, but they do that at their own peril because now, like you said, other people aren't going to want to mint with them in the future. Because why buy in the first round when you don't get anything? When they're not going to sell out, they're not going to sell a lot. I'll just get it when they do the BOGO. And so yeah, I get it.
Crypto Rain, we got a pretty good question for you here, I think, from And1. What do you think on the theory of coins held from last bull run will be tougher to ride to 100x? Because people sell them even if they're at a loss if they think they won't run.
So that's a lot of the reason why they do go 100x, because they sell them to such low numbers. The market cap is so low that if they have any life when the market comes back in, it's not very hard to go from a $500,000 market cap to a $50 million market cap when the rain comes in. So I saw a number of projects do that, and many people have written them off as dead. And that's why, unless I know like a project is dead, and even then, sometimes if I have that stuff, and I play in the risky space, so sometimes I have projects that fail, and it's okay. If I never had any projects that failed, I would be playing it too safe. You just invest in Bitcoin, right? But Bitcoin doesn't have the multiples I look for. So I just usually hold them. In last bear market, I saw like these things come back to life and like take off that I'm like, wasn't that dead? Okay. And I knew some other people that way, like this couple that has a YouTube channel together, New Kids on the Blockchain. They're like, oh my gosh, crazy. I just checked one of my old wallets and it has like $380,000 of some token they thought was dead. And they're like, holy cow, sell. So they sold it. And like, so you might end up having one of those days. Now, if I know it's going to go massively down, sometimes I'll sell and sometimes I won't rebuy back. But a lot of times it all of a sudden happens so fast, or there's a slow progression down. I just hold on to it because sometimes the life comes back in, and sometimes I buy more depending on what I think is going on. Because in the bear market, what happens is a lot of things go to like slow moving, kind of like reptiles during the winter, right? They're like frozen, like crocodiles in the river, right? They put their little snout out and they're frozen in the ice. You think they're dead, but they're not. And when spring comes and everything comes back and it warms up, they come right back to life. Everything's fine.
That's awesome. That's a great answer. We've got a few more comments here. Omi's already 138 on CoinGecko. Omi hit, I think we hit 100 very briefly.
We were at 101 when we were at, I was like super salty we didn't crack the top 100.
Are you sure we didn't? I think because the spike was pretty quick. Like the very top we hit, what did we hit? 0013, I think. For
we might have. When I was checking, it was like 101. I was like, oh.
yeah, I was watching around there, 102, 103 I saw, but I didn't quite catch the top to look at it. But yeah, we were pretty close there. And I think last cycle we were in the top 100, maybe top 80, I think.
Last cycle we went
3 billion market cap. Yeah, so it won't take a lot to get there.
No, and during a bear market, like breaking the top 100 in the crypto winter, it's like, yay, but really, like, it's still not sell time. It's when it breaks the top 100 in a bull market, meaning that market cap goes to like 10 billion or 100 billion, then it's like, yay, I'm going to take some profits here. Yeah,
we'll definitely need those exchanges for that volume. I mean, I think Omi in the app will do really, really well, like in the web app. If you can buy Omi, that'll help a lot, and that'll probably get our volume up so that we can start getting those exchange listings. And maybe we'll have to work our way up to a big exchange, or maybe they'll just drop a big exchange. We know that David, you already did an interview with the Binance New Zealand, so we know there's a connection there with Binance. So that would be awesome if we got the Binance Exchange just dropped. And do you guys see the new news of Binance US? They're having a new CEO come on that is previously from the SEC. So that's really cool. So
Yeah.
he know all the SEC ins and outs. So that we've got a ringer, guys. Binance US has a ringer coming in. So that's some really good news for Binance.
Do you know when that's happening?
I don't know the timeline. No, it was just announced a few days ago.
Nice. For the web app, I wouldn't expect that this year. I think the bronze tickets come first, and I'm hoping that happens this year. And then Omi 2 accessory, likely in Q1.
I might have to disagree with you, Randy, because I think to have bronze tickets in the app, we need to have a way to buy Omi and get into layer 2 really quickly. So for people to buy Omi on exchange and then transfer it from layer 1 to layer 2 into the app and then use that for bronze tickets is so unlikely. I think they're going to need to have Omi, to be able to buy Omi inside the app just to make it really easy to use it for bronze tickets, if that makes sense.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love it.
But I just think it wouldn't be very practical to have bronze tickets and no ability to get bronze tickets to get Omi easily in. Like a lot of people struggle with the bridging process, so I think it would be way easier if they just let you buy. Obviously, this is like an awesome. If this happens, and we get bronze tickets at the same time, they drop Omi. You can buy Omi with a credit card inside the app at the same time, and you can use your MCP points as well as bronze tickets, like all of that at the same time. That would be awesome. That would be some dynamite.
That would help a lot. See a lot of burn finally. I don't know. I think VeVe has a couple things up its sleeves. I mean, it's now Omi's now a VeVe product. So now instead of just having two guys working on it, you have like a lot more than that. So
it's definitely not Gary Gensler.
But dude, that can you imagine? Oh my gosh, that was a good one. Man, Mark's so good. I love his comments, and Mike too. They always crack me up. So good.
What would you guys do with your profits? Sleeping Comics question. I'm guessing from Omi profits, or
probably for me, Pokemon cards and Tesla stock.
I like Tesla stock. I really like Tesla.
Not Lorcana cards. Isn't that the new thing, Randy? I mean, like I got all excited. I pulled an enchanted Elsa on Lorcana, but like it'd be interesting. I'd like to, Randy, as a Pokemon expert, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this Lorcana. Like it's pretty hyped up. Like I can't get the cards anywhere. Like as soon as they're dropped, like someone's sweeping them and they're just flipping them right on the on the internet, on eBay or something like that. But so it's really hard to like build a deck and get the cards for that. But so yeah, like what do you think? What would it take for something like a Disney Lorcana to some of those cards to get to the prices of what some of the Pokemon has done?
They can. They would need a first edition. So what Pokemon did, and I don't know why they took this. I kind of a guess, but for years they had a first edition, and it's usually just a first edition, and then the rest was unlimited. Only one time did they have a first edition, then a print run of Shadowless, and then print run of Unlimited. With a lot of these cards now, and you say it doesn't matter how rare it is, they're always going to print more of those. Pokemon literally bought the machines to make the cards go burr. Like they used to have to do with Wizards of the Coast, and they had it with Nintendo, and now they just have the machines themselves. If there's, you need more, they'll print out more cards. So what I've seen a lot of people do is they'll take a look at like this new card that comes out, and they'll do the same thing with Lorcana as well. They'll say like, mystical, whatever secret rare Elsa there is, the highest rarity, they'll be like, oh, someone will get it graded, and as long as it's a really good clean cut card and it gets, let's say, a PSA 10 or BGS 10, or let's say a black label, like, yo, there's only one of these in the entire world, and it'll sell for $5,000, it'll sell for $8,000, whatever it is. And then slowly but surely, as the months go on, what people won't realize, like, okay, yes, there's only one. I don't even think there's a BGS black label of like Charizard first edition, but that card's like 20 something years old. So people think like, oh, there's only one of these in the world. They'll see it on the pop report. They'll spend thousands of dollars on it, and then as the months go on, there'll be more and more cards that are in that black label, and then it'll settle like at 1,000 or a couple hundred. But a way that it could go and make it as high as Pokemon cards is if they did a first edition, one print run of first edition, and then the rest unlimited, so that everyone could build their decks. I think that would be really cool, but they didn't do that.
Interesting. Okay. Good to know.
Good thought from a card expert, right? Because knowing these things, if the printer is just going to go burr, then you have a supply problem, too much supply. And if it doesn't segment, this is first edition, then over time it'll devalue.
Yeah, I mean they'll print the same cards 2 years later, if it's super popular.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing that sometimes you have like an inverse reaction where some cards really aren't popular. Let's say it's not a good set, they're not really selling out. They'll do 1 or 2 print runs of those, and like, okay, so let's move on to the next set. And then once they stop printing, they stop printing. But if a card set is really, really popular, they'll keep on doing it. And eventually, those cards that weren't popular, they'll be a little bit more rare and scarce because nobody really wanted them. And then they go up years later. So that kind of gets a little funky, kind of backwards. But yeah, there could be in general some cards that have certain, like for example, you have a Yamna. It's a bug Pokemon. It's like a little dragonfly, the second generation. I don't think that is anybody's favorite Pokemon, but there's like less than 20 of them graded first edition PSA 10. So they go for thousands of dollars because there's so few of them. It's very hard to grade. They have that with a couple of them in Neo Genesis. So if Disney has that with the Lorcana ones, like ones that, oh, there's a little red dot over here, or the foil scratches super easily, then you could see that in high grades go for a lot of money. If it's super hard to grade.
So, Randy, how many of your Pokemon cards did you end up grading over time?
I only graded a couple hundred of them. Most of the ones I just bought graded already, because it's back in the day for PSA. I don't know what it is like now, but you could go and on right now, let's say we could do it right now on September 18th, 2023. I can go and get a card graded, and I wouldn't get it back until September, October of next year. I can go get married and have a kid before I would get that card back. So you really have your aging receivables out there for a really long time. So you have to float a lot of money. And most times the grades were good. Most times they can't. But I've had some people, like, they gave me back a completely different card than what I sent them. Now, obviously, they're doing millions and millions of cards every single week, so that's going to happen every now and then. These are just people. But yeah, that's kind of why I didn't really do a lot of the grading. I would only do it if I saw like a really good deal, where someone's like, hey, I just opened these pack fresh, I just want to get them out. I'm like, okay, if they're pack fresh, I'll buy them. They'll mostly come back PSA 9s. You pay PSA 7 prices. You float it for like, you can get it expedited. But now, like I think it costs like $40 a card to get graded. Back in the day, you could do it. It was like $15, and sometimes if you do bulk like 100 cards plus, you get it for like $12 or even like $8 per card. But now, like, it's so expensive to do it.
They must be making bank. They must be making a ton of money from that.
They do. They make a ton.
Just like the horse and buggy industry used to make a lot of money in the early 1900s, right? Before everything changed to automotive. I think a lot of collectors are going to go digital in the coming years.
Yeah, I mean, digital makes sense. Like, you don't have to do that sending process back and forth. And but with PSA, there's no competition, so it's just them.
There's more now. So PSA is more synonymous with Pokemon. BGS is so PSA is very accurate from most of their grades. BGS is very accurate, a little bit harsher, but very accurate from a BGS 9 and above. If you get anything below any of the subgrades below a BGS 9, it says, let's say 8.5, it could be an 8.5 or it could be a 7. It's very, very hit or miss. But for some people are doing CGC now, and CGC they're not as harsh with grades. So if you get like a CGC 10, it might be like a PSA 9. And then if you have, generally the lower the grade, the more kind of wacky it could be. But if they're clean cards, you can kind of go and tell, okay, this is a light 10, as in it has some whitening on the card, a little bit, the centerings might be off a little bit, but still in the 10 parameters. Where nowadays PSA will be like, oh, this is just a 9, and PSA doesn't have 9.5. So if you have a really good card, but it's kind of in the middle, get it graded by BGS, it'll get like a 9.5. But PSA, you could have like a really solid looking card and it get a 9, and then you could have a really looking card, but it can get a 10. So it gets really squirrely sometimes. Yeah.
That's crazy. So there is competition. There's some other companies that are doing this similar thing, but they're not big.
Yeah, PSA is more. That's who you really want to go to. That'll get the most consistent bang for your buck. But the BGS, like for the higher end stuff, you kind of want to go there, because if you get that black label, it's like impossible. So, and then CGC if you want it back quicker, because they don't have as long of a list, so they'll do it in a couple months as opposed to 8 months.
Davey Boy has an interesting question. He says, "Are bronze tickets pointless in the current environment because majority of drops are going out of retail?" Yeah, but some of them have sold out instantly, right? We've had a few instant sellouts still, even in the last month. Was Lion King sold out instantly, right? So there are still some drops.
Yeah. The Lion King is the one that I didn't get the drop. I did get the Elsa. You're right. It was the Lion King. So I think maybe. What's that?
Oh, there's still some that you need bronze tickets for, even in the current bear market.
Yeah, that's a good. The bronze tickets are there just for the highly desirable drops. There's going to be others that they aren't going to sell out, but you have the bronze tickets. It increases your chances for the big drops, right? For the Millennium Falcon drop, or maybe the Death Star. Like I want the Wolverine, right? Captain America #1 comic book. There's still drops out there that will be highly, highly sought after. And so, but yeah, there's going to be others that I'm not using MCP points for that, right? But so my suspicion is that VeVe is going to have something really big that they're going to drop, and I think that they're going to make it pretty low edition to just burn the crap out of MCP points, where everyone is just going to be throwing a ton at it to try to get that drop, right? Because you only get 6 months from the time that those points become live. You got 6 months before they get burned, and they're going to do that. And what that does is it actually will start helping the ones who have their daily MCP points are pretty big. And that's where the OMI additional utility comes in, right? And it increases that daily utility, because then if they have another drop after that's burned, what if they have another big drop after that's burned, right? And then maybe a week after, and then it's the people who have collected a ton, they've got a significant chance at that. So yeah, but I feel if they drop bronze tickets right now, I probably wouldn't use any until there was a drop that I really, really wanted. But man, Wolverine comes out, you better believe I'm throwing stuff there.
Matthew also says Matthew Lambie says there will be exclusive drops not for sale of gems. You'll have to only buy with MCP points. That would be really cool. That would be a good way to get rid of those MCP points too.
I love his icon that he has with his YouTube account. That was awesome.
What is that? That is is that like a Lego?
Cane, right?
It's that Lego.
Cane Lego. Nice.
Yeah.
You guys all have the Cane collectible, VeVe collectible?
I have the King secret rare comic book.
Nice.
Nice.
That was one of the few times luck really touched me. I was like, yes. Price on that went to 50,000 or 60,000. Of course, it didn't sell, and the price is probably around 1,000 or 2 now.
I'm hoping to get once the Loki series comes out and I see what they're doing with Kang, and if they're going to change actors or whatever, then I might decide to see if I'll get them or not. I was just curious.
Yeah, he hasn't caught on a whole lot yet. The comic book collectors really follow him, but yeah, he'll probably become bigger in the future, I think. I'm just waiting for nobody to be talking about him completely, which nobody really is yet, and then I'll pick up some of the collectibles in case later on he becomes like the coolest guy ever.
I got a couple of those Voltron collectibles this weekend. I don't know if you guys have seen. So I guess Rain has, but for the audience that might not have seen yet, if you look at the Voltron collectibles, there are very few of them in general, and it said there were like a lot in the store that you could just buy from the store. It's like, okay, but then you go to the store to buy one, and it says sold out. So they either haven't updated their burn sheet yet, which means that they're all going to be burned, or it's a glitch in which saying that, okay, you could buy this now from the market for like however much over retail, and then the glitch will be fixed, and then you can just buy now from the store. So I may or may not have pool-sided into a couple of those Voltron collectibles, because like if they're gonna burn like 800, like the common Voltron, there's only 252 of them, so I bought one, and you need that for the set. And like there's less of them than there are the secret rare, so I was like, okay. So I bought that, the common, the rare, and I'll grab the rest of the set at some point.
Are you talking about the lions? Or are you
when
talking
you say
about the
poolside,
original?
The lions, the leg and the I'll show you real quick.
Yeah, like the black and the green and blue, red and yellow.
Yeah. So I got the common, uncommon, and the rare, and then the other ones I'll just try to get at some point. But I wish I could show you on the market right now, but the market's been shut down all day.
Yeah. Well, so I was gonna say, when you say like I would poolside in anything, do you guys remember? I can't remember what game, but it's just this viral clip of this guy. I think it's like not Ember Short.
Wow.
Man, one of those.
Wow clip.
Yeah,
Leroy
I think it was
Jenkins?
Wow or something.
Yeah. I remember that. Leroy Jenkins.
So I think of poolside, right? Like when you're doing that, you're like poolside.
Yeah.
Just like ape on like something, and it just
Let's go.
terrible.
He just goes in by himself. Gets destroyed.
I just like love that clip so much. I was just thinking, anytime
so
someone's
good.
like, "Oh, I'm gonna poolside into that side, poolside," I could just imagine him buying those Myrmicornos, thinking he's just gonna make it rich. It's like, bro, what are you doing, man? Oh, so good. And he bought one of my collectibles. I took a picture of that. I was like, man, this is like. Poolside bought one of my collectibles. I'm like, I'm saving this. Like, I'm gonna turn this into an NFT or something. You know,
He's gone, right? He's out of VeVe. I haven't seen him in a while.
I mean, I'm sure he's just stayed silent. I don't think that he's gone. I mean, I could be wrong. You know, shoot, I should have looked him up when the VeVe Analytics website was there. It would have been interesting to see if Poolside still had stuff there. But yeah, look. Regardless, that guy has etched his name into VeVe history, and that's not everyone can say they've done that. So
not the best way, not the like most exciting way.
Sometimes people will take negative attention over positive attention.
That's true.
It is worse to be completely anonymous.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, Matt. So highlight that Matthew Lambie's comment. I added VeVe on Twitter. I was like, hey, what's going on with this Voltron thing? Like a month ago, I was like, what's going on with Voltron? Like it's been sitting there where it says like that there's remaining collectibles, but you can't buy them. You know, is that what you were talking about, Randy? I'm sorry if that was okay. Yeah, I had the whole set. I love Voltron, so I collected the sets and stuff. But that is interesting.
We've all made mistakes here. I think everyone.
Man.
Financial mistakes, right?
I remember Clever Jerk messaging me once when we were talking about poolside. I was like, I've made similar moves, and he texted me the picture of his Electra that he bought. It's like the 123 Secret Rare Electra, and I don't know. He didn't say how much he paid for it, but it was probably a large amount.
That's funny.
I aped into. I totally just got this euphoria back in January of 2022, right? Like I had some big sales. I sold one of my prides for like, or my I think it was my only pride for like 11 grand, 12 grand, 12 grand. Yeah, but like I got super hyped up on the battle statue. It was like, oh, the first color Batman, like, I know it. I mean, it still looks epic, and I bought several of them, and it was good. I did some tax loss harvesting. But I kept one. I've kept one that I'm just keeping as a reminder. Sometimes when like I start to get euphoric or something about like there's a lot of hype, I look at that and I'll be like, okay, is this going to turn into one of these? And it kind of just like grounds me a little bit to say, is this really smart choice? If I'm trying to do a flip or if I'm trying to do something like that. And it's humbling to look at those figures sometimes and be like, man,
I should probably get one now. They're like what, like $50 now?
Yeah, they're pretty cheap. Yeah.
I feel like it might not be a bad time to pick one up.
$50, man. Like
I
they
bought a few more, and I bought them above this price, but they were pretty cheap then, and I was like, these have a chance to do well, so I bought a bunch.
They're awesome, and
yeah,
the thing is, like the VeVeVerse is really going to change people's perception on certain collectibles, because if they look super good, then people are going to want them to flex in their property, and not because they have utility, not because they're FA. Just because of how they look. And that's why like Lambos and things, I think a lot of people are going to want Lambos, right? And I don't think necessarily that they're going to have to flex the secret rare, because what if the blue one looks better than the black one in the VeVeVerse? It may not get to the same price as the black one still, but like it might go up in price because of that, right?
Higher ROI on it.
Yeah. Yep.
I just want to quickly highlight this comment by Mike H. Next 12 months for VeVe are going to be insane. Going to get more than any of us expect. Exchanges, new verticals, utility, huge IP, influx of new users, and either Pokemon or Dragon Ball Z. Why not both? And they've strategically made it through the bear market, are waiting to unleash all this stuff as the halving nears, sentiment flips. Why release bombs in a down market? Wouldn't make sense. Yeah. It's a good point. That might be what's happening. We don't really know the master plan. They're keeping it tight. Randy, do you know the master plan?
Maybe bits and pieces. A lot of it's just going to be inferred. I don't know when they go to get certain things. I do know that. So David confused me the other day, or like last month, where it's like there's a secret project that only like 2 or 3 people know about. I was like, okay, that's interesting. I wonder what that is. And then he went on somebody's stream like a week or 2 later. Is like there's a thing that's working on that I don't even know about. So obviously, either one of 2 things with that statement. If we take that at face value, either you don't, in the VeVe company, you don't need David's sign off to do something, because if there's a secret project that he doesn't know about, then you don't need to sign off for something, which I think can be cool. But then at the end of that, maybe it's not as big as we're thinking, because if it's something where I feel like for something big, he would or should be involved. So that's the kind of 2 things that I'm thinking of from that. I don't know which.
Unless it's just out of his wheelhouse completely. So
maybe
Dan's signing off, not David. Instead.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have. I mean, his specialty is in the collecting. So when talking about blockchain and talking about the integration of Omi, maybe it has something to do with that. I don't think he'd be personally invested in that.
Is there gold in Sesame Street crafting?
There was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
you missed the craft right now. I crafted. Yeah, and that was I missed it. I was at work, and so I didn't know what was going on. But yeah, apparently they had opened up crafting without making an announcement. I don't know if that was intentional to open it up without making an announcement. They opened it up, and there was a glitch where basically, because what they've done, and I thought this was really cool, is instead of like burning the Cookie Monster or the Oscar the Grouch to then craft the golden one, it's just you got to craft. If you owned it, you crafted it and minted a new one. So you got to keep the original Cookie Monster, but now you get a golden oven Cookie Monster or golden trash can, which to me, the golden trash can is pretty epic, man.
That's cool.
So I'm probably going to be buying a couple more Oscars. Now, here's the question though that I think we have to be careful about is like someone going to mint the golden Oscar, then sell the original, and is someone going to buy that thinking that they can still mint the golden or craft the golden Oscar?
Ooh, yeah.
You know, or how does that work? There should be something like has already been crafted or some sort of notification there, and maybe that's what they're working on. But that's why the marketplace is closed. But my assumption is hopefully that they are making some sort of distinction there, because then what could happen is the people who haven't crafted, maybe their original Cookie Monster or Oscar goes for a higher amount than someone who's crafted already, right? But it'll still be below market because, I mean, there's still a ton in the store. But yeah, anyways, regardless, like I think Sesame Street's a big deal, man. And like my kid loves he loves Cookie Monster. He doesn't like Oscar. Oscar kind of scares him. But he loves Cookie Monster, and he's asked me just yesterday. He asked me for Cookie Monster. He's the one who's always asking me for either Spider-Man, the T-Rex, or Cookie Monster, right? But now it'd be kind of cool to see. Like, I want to test it out and see if he notices the difference between the gold and the original, right? Of any of these. But I think that gold can in the VeVeVerse is going to be pretty sick looking. So I'm planning on probably buying a couple more Oscars and then crafting the gold can. So. That's another interesting way that they've done that to potentially incentivize people without forcing them, right? Incentivize them to be like, hey, well, if you buy this off the store, then you get an additional collectible, 2-for-1.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward. Yeah. Go for it.
I was just saying, I'm waiting for the market to open.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to VeVeVerse. I know we talk about this every week, but like it's like for me, it's super exciting. I've been waiting for something like the VeVeVerse to come out for a long time. I used to use AltSpace. AltSpace is the alternative VR space. Obviously, you didn't have a home space. You couldn't put all your collectibles there or anything. It was not customizable. You could build your own world. Like they had a way to build your own world in AltSpace VR. But they actually discontinued that. That product is gone, right? It's gone now. You can't use AltSpace anymore. They have other ones. There's Meta's one. I think it's Horizon Worlds. Have you guys tried that or heard of it?
I think I did at the Web3 gallery in New York City. They had it on like a computer there.
Were you VR or just on the computer?
No, it was on the computer, and two of these guys I was with, they weren't like old. They weren't like in like their 60s or anything. So they're in their 40s, two whales, and I go and like, oh, cool. Like, and I just use the arrow keys and I use like spacebar and jump, and they're like, how did you know how to do that? And I was like, it's a game, bro. Like, use the arrow keys to move, the spacebar to jump, and I just feel like I don't know. There's a little bit of learning, but there's such a big untapped market of even people that are super interested in this stuff, but have just maybe never gamed on the computer before. And I think this is going to be something that's really going to introduce them to it, because like a lot of women don't really play Call of Duty and they don't play Halo, but they'll play Bejeweled Blitz and they'll play Animal Crossing. So I think you just need that one thing to get everybody in, and I think VeVeVerse could be it. Once you get them on the headset, and it's like you don't have to watch a 45-minute video to explain why digital collecting is disruptive, and you save money because you run out of room in your house. You have to get like a storage unit. All you have to do is show them on the headset on the computer, hey, this is what you have, this is what it looks like, and they'll immediately get it.
That's cool. We had an interesting question from Davey Boy. How would MTP only drops pay the licensor? And I just said that might be like VeVe exclusive drops, something like that, like VeVe licenses.
And there could be some that like there's a deal where, hey, like you get all of the secondary market fees or something on these. There's different ways that they could structure, the income from those collectibles. And what we've seen, do you guys remember the Invisible Woman that was actually invisible and it was just like the stand that went for $1? Do you know how much like the secondary market fees like they generated off of that were? It was a stand.
More than a drop.
Yeah, significantly more than they would have, like if they, and think if they tried to charge like $30 for that, right? No one would have bought it. But then all of a sudden it was $1. And then on the secondary, they were selling for like $30, $40, right? Like, so there's a lot of different psychological impacts to like pricing on stuff, you know? And if you price it low enough and with low addition enough, the secondary market volume can far exceed what you would have gotten had you had a higher price and a higher addition price point, right? And then there's even typically lower transaction volume on the secondary because of that. So yeah.
I have a question. Did you guys know if we can't track how much secondary sales they do, can we? Is that not possible?
You can, but it's
not within an API, not really without an API.
No one has API access, do they? No one has.
Well,
API.
it's on Immutable X, isn't it? Or it's on Ether. Like, isn't the sales like if you track the wallets?
You can track, okay, but like you would have to track every single wallet. Like you just can't, right?
And you'd have to calculate all the price differences and everything. Yeah, I don't know.
That's true too.
You could, I mean, it's all on the blockchain, right? But like you would get the contract for the collectible, and then you would sort and be like, okay, these are the transactions I'm looking for with this contract address. And you could see the back and forth, but we don't have the price on it. So we don't know how much it's selling for or anything like that. So without an API that tells you the price and things, no one's going to spend the time to do that because you're still not going to get enough information to truly be able to tell what they're making on the secondary.
It's interesting though. Like
I have seen with that principle that I wish more projects understood this, roll out things at a low price, a low starting point, because then it creates a story of appreciation. So exactly what happened with that. I mean, you think about Bored Ape. Imagine if they had come out with a starting price of $2,000, it never would have got off the ground. But they, essentially it was about what, $80 worth of ETH. Doctor of Stuff probably remembers. It was 0.08 ETH. I just don't remember what
ETH was at like $4,000, so it was still about like 300 and something bucks. But that was like the minting price of like every project, right? So they weren't any different. They weren't any higher.
Yeah, and how much they make now? So they made $360 or something or $320 for everyone that sold. But then now for everyone that sells, even in this bear market, they make thousands of dollars on secondary market fees. So you do have to have something that people want, but it does help you as a project starting out with the price low, and don't make a gazillion mints. This is something that I think, what's his name gets, Todd McFarlane, and he's doing with McFarlane Toys, is low initial prices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there was this project called Ghosts, spelled with, it's GHX. ST or just STS, sorry. And I had been following this guy. I started to follow early on in like April some of these people who have been pretty successful in NFTs, right? Like they had just minted some, and this guy was like, hey, this is pretty cool. And he had minted some, but it was a free mint. Or not a free mint, because free mints hadn't happened at that point, but it was like 0.001 ETH or just something super, super cheap, right? And I sat there on the purchase and I was like, I don't know, this just seems weird. So I didn't buy it. But like that had never been done before, and it went viral. And like, so it went from like 0.001 ETH to the height here. The average price was 40 ETH. But on top of that, what he started to do is he started to do some crafting and burning, which was actually pretty like new as well, where he was like, okay, if you hold this, I'm going to airdrop you this. And then if you hold these, I guess not crafting and burning, but like if you hold these two together, then he did a separate drop. And he's like, the more you held and these different like combinations, you got additional stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. If you held two of the original ghosts though, like you could have made at the height of the market, it was like over $1 million, like it's crazy stuff. Right. But it's that psychology of like you said, appreciation. It's a story of like, it was super cheap. Oh, I got it at this, then it went up to this. Now that's something that maybe VeVe doesn't want to get into, right? That kind of hype and speculative markets and stuff like that. That catches the attention of regulators sometimes, but it depends on how it's marketed and all that jazz. But I agree with you. Like that Invisible Woman, that was super fun. And I was still like, oh, is she going to appear at some point or what's going to happen there? And it's just funny. It's funny to have that base of the Invisible. I mean, I have one. I just think it's hilarious,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I have one
awesome.
too. Fun.
I'll just shout out that we've got almost 120 people watching us live again. Woo! Loving it. If you haven't smashed the like button, please smash the like button. No matter which channel you're watching this on, hit the like button. And yeah,
Yes.
if you can subscribe, like these guys come on almost every week, and they put on a great show for you guys. Everyone gives their opinion. We got a great round table. It's a really fun time, and just smashing the like means we get more views, we get more attention, and it's just good for everybody involved.
100%.
And I would say, Rain, do you want to give us a little rundown on Omi at the moment? A little bit of Omi
Yeah,
TA?
would love to. So, like, I think like an investor, and you see that kind of biases the way I think about all this, but that's what attracted me to the crypto space was, since I was young, I was like, how do you become rich? And rich involves making either using your time better, because as a janitor, you can make money per hour, but as a CEO, you can make more money per hour, but you only have so much time in the day. So how do you get your money to work for you? And that's what I always thought about. So what I love about the crypto space is the ability to get your money to work for you. And so then, if your goal is to be rich on a beach somewhere someday, or just to have options, or to do a lot more travel than you do, you're looking to find ways to make your money work for you. Well, first stage of that is creating massive amounts of money, because then you can buy like commercial real estate or other things that mostly bring you in some kind of passive income. So how do you create large amounts of money? Well, crypto creates a unique opportunity that really didn't exist before. And let me share my screen. And so, like, I'm not a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. This is just me sharing with you how I made millions in crypto in the last 6 years. And it was identifying projects that I felt like were undervalued, because a lot of things do get undervalued. And in crypto, I'd say 70% of the stuff in crypto is just some kind of trash or scam or stupid or not likely to go anywhere, because it's just kind of some kind of play on tokenomics. And so I stay away from those, and I only focus on projects that have a real use case, a real project behind it, like some kind of thing that they're doing. Now, I don't know if digital collectibles are going to become the biggest collectible thing in the future, but I suspect that they are going to be that. And Omi's token is the token behind it. And so that's the fundamental reason why I have long-term belief that this token could do very, very well. And within that, I'm looking at the chart, and my goal is to buy really, really cheap so that I can sell really, really high. And right now we're at really, really cheap, and some people are just scared to buy it really, really cheap, because they say, well, how do you know it's going to get really expensive later? And we don't know that it's going to get really expensive later, but there's strong reason to believe it will, and that's what I use. And people say, what guarantees are there? There are no guarantees. You are in the wrong space. In fact, that money you have in your account is not guaranteed to be there 10 years from now. The government could come in at some point and take it out. You just don't realize it's not guaranteed. You think it's guaranteed. And so there are no guarantees. What I'm hoping for is that the crypto bull run will come back, and likely it will. It has every time so far. I went through the last bear market, and I hope that we would go back into a bull market later, and that thesis was right. Again, we're in a bear market, and I hope and believe that we'll enter a bear market probably in the coming 6 months to 2 years. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. We see this nice basing pattern playing out on Omi. And thankfully, it came back down under. This is my green zone. I really like Omi for my personal preference at under this 0.1 price. So all this is just delicious to me. And so last bear market, my favorite token was Cardano. And people say, oh, yeah, but Cardano is so solid. It wasn't last bear market. In fact, tons of people with large YouTube channels were saying Cardano was never going to make it and it was a failure and this and this and this. But if you just paid attention, listen to the founder and his interviews and stuff, you're like, oh, everything's fine at Cardano. It's just delayed. And so I just kept stocking up while everyone was fudding on it. And the price looked exactly like this in a lot of ways. And it was overly cheap. And then it went 100x from where I was buying it. It went clear 200x from the very bottom. Now, will Omi do that? I can't say I know exactly what it'll do. I hope that it'll do 100x or more from here. It's got potential to do that, but I don't really know what it looks like. And it's hard to find charts that really show the history of where it was. So this is showing when they switched over to the Mutable X's blockchain, but it doesn't show the price history of when it was at 1.4 cents. We can put a little bit of a Fibonacci pattern on this so that we can look at what it might go to. So now it was all the way at 1.4 cents before. And so we can look at the extension and what do the extensions take us to. So likely we'll hit at least 3.5 to 6.5 cents in the coming bull run. Do I hope it goes farther than that? I hope so. I'm going to start taking profits when it hits a couple cents. And then I'll probably sell some more as it goes up higher. I think this buy zone down here is so delicious. So if you're buying at under 0.1 cents, basically at 1 cent, it will have 10x, and at 10 cents, it will have 100x. If you're buying, though, at like 0.08, by the time it hits 8 cents, if it does, you've reached 100x from what you were buying it. And that's why 0.06, I was like freaking out. It was so amazing. And some people were scared it was going to go to 0.04 or below. And I was like, at 0.06 cents, if it goes to 6 cents, that's 100x from there. So right now it's cheap. I hope it gets even cheaper. But as I get money available, I just slide some more into Omi, and I slide some more into Omi. And that's how I think as an investor. And this way that I think as an investor, it works. Now, do I have any guarantees Omi will succeed? No, but it's my favorite one. If I were going to all in on just one project, Omi is the one I would all in on, realizing that, gosh, putting your eggs in one basket like that, sometimes that basket gets broken, you lose all your eggs. That's why I don't go all in, and I do spread them out, because unexpected sometimes happens.
Dr. Stuff, you're muted.
Thank you. So one of the things, Rain, that I was thinking about that someone had said that I thought was very interesting is they were like, oh, look, tokens that have already done like some crazy X like Omi has, they're not going to do it again. And I was just like, says who? Like, why? Like, what's your support for that? And they're like, oh, well, like it hasn't. I was like, what about Bitcoin? Bitcoin kept like each cycle they've hit new all-time highs. Like it was like the weirdest argument, you know, like, and I'm like, here's the thing. We are truly in uncharted territory with Omi, in that to have a token that on the roadmap, and granted, it's not all here yet, but the utility that this token is going to have, I don't know of another like token that's going to have this type of utility that's tied to such major IP. You're going to have gaming tokens, right? That you're going to be using to buy NFTs in this market and stuff. But like, will you be able to stake those tokens, right? Or will you be able to like? There's going to be so many different mechanisms of use for the tokens. There are going to be burning mechanisms with these tokens. There's all of these different things that we've never seen tied to a token that already has had a very massive pump, right, in 2021. So yeah, is there a risk that it doesn't do that? Yeah, just like Rain said, like there's a risk that everything goes to zero, like that the dollar in your bank account gets taken. Like, I mean, geez, like there's a lot of what ifs, and all we can do is play out hypothetical situations, gathering as much information as we can in those, and then playing those out, right? And then saying, look, does this make sense? And then that's what I do, and I make my decisions based off of that. And so I want to so last week I got into a little thing with Wes. It was pretty funny, right? On my Omi, what could happen to Omi in
He's not here this week, Doc.
I
You
know.
broke him. You broke
I
Wes.
know.
He's not here this week.
I know, but I have to shout him out because we had some chats in the in the DMs, right? And he's like, "Hey, I think it's irresponsible of you to do this." And look, I think he made a good point in that. Like, I should have clarified and said, I think there's a solid chance that Omi in 2025 could be 5 to 25 cents. Solid chance. But then I still say there is, if everything lines up, right? And I laid out all of those reasons why. And you guys should go check back in the last around the Ecomiverse if you want to listen to it, of why Omi could reach $1 to $5, right? But I think I should have laid that out better and said, hey, 10 to 25 cents. That's a little bit more realistic for me. But then the moonshot of like, if everything lines up and what could happen, and Rain says this a lot, right? And I love it. It's like things happen that there's no logical reason why they do. Did it happen? Yes. Should it have happened? No, but it still happened, right? And that's where I threw that amount at, And then it was kind of crazy because then I don't know if you guys seen this guy's tweet kind of went pretty viral, where he was like, "I'm now a millionaire after watching around the Ecomiverse and listening to Rain and Doc talk about Omi." And I was like, "Well, you obviously haven't listened to Randy as much as you should have, because I'm surprised that." Anyways, yeah, like it's just it has significant potential, and that doesn't mean that it could still fall flat on its face. But at these prices, I just think with everything that it's building, it's one of these tokens that, man, it's tied to this VeVe engine that's still making a lot of money, and people are freaking out that they're not selling out all their drops. And I think that they truly mispriced those vehicles. Vehicles just in general don't sell very well. And the amount of numbers that they had for like that ATST and the Invaders ship, I was like, I would have bought it at 30 for sure, but at 60, I was like, but here's the cool thing. And I don't know if you guys noticed that, but people were like, hey, why? I thought I'd be able to buy it on the secondary market for way cheaper, because the drop price was $60 and it's floating around like $50 to $53, right? And the reason is because bots didn't go for it. And this is what happens is when true collectors buy, and we don't get these bots that are just truly trying to make a flip, then people are like, look, I'll sell it, but I'm not selling it for half price. But when bots enter in, then people are kind of forced to floor it at that, set it at that price. So that's, man, I do love seeing that, because then I'm like, well, geez, for $10 more, I can mint and potentially get like a lot lower mint number also that hasn't touched another account, and it's just solely in my account. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out with some of these drops going forward.
I have a really interesting question here. Do you guys hear about what happened with Unity? Do you guys know what happened with Unity? The app creation company Unity. They run like 90% of the apps in the App Store for basically everything. We use Unity right now for VeVeVerse. Actually, I think Unity might be used for the VeVe app too. I'm not 100% sure on that. But basically what Unity did is they changed their pricing model. And they didn't just change it a little bit. They changed it dramatically. It used to be about, I think it's about $550 per seat to have a programmer to use Unity to build games and apps. And then they changed it to $2,100 as a minimum seat. So they 4 to 5x the pricing. And on top of that, they now start charging per download. Like, so however many thousand downloads you get, they take a cut of that. So it's really, really, really nasty pricing. Like it's greedy pricing. And I mean, I think because Unity have a big monopoly on app development, they're I think they're the number one for all apps, right? Is built on Unity. So I think they've taken that and like, yeah, they've run with it, and they've got huge backlash from people. A lot of people say they'll never touch Unity ever again now. A lot of developers are trying to go off Unity, but it's a huge thing. I sort of bring that up because we had a comment on it, and I forgot to mention that. It's a pretty big news worthy, and it is related to VeVe and Omi and VeVeVerse. So, I mean, if we're on the Unreal 5 engine, then maybe we should just do that exclusively and not even touch Unity as well, because it might end up costing us too much money. I'm not really...
Well, you want to give people that option, though. And I mean,
yeah, well, I don't know how it's going to work, Randy. It might be depending on if you use iPhone or if you use Android or if you use your computer. If you use your computer, it'll be probably on Unreal. Like maybe depending on the spec level, they can switch between it. Because I know Fortnite do that. So with Fortnite, if you have a really high spec computer, you put in the high settings, it'll run in Unreal 5.1 engine. But if you don't, it'll run in Unity or something else. So it's possible to be basically whatever your settings are might change what program runs in.
That's crazy. That's monopoly type behavior from a player, right? They better have a really good justification of that, or the market will totally punish them. They will piss some people off, and in the short term, probably almost nobody can change, but in the long term, everything is changeable.
Yeah, not only that, but then regulators come in, right? And they're like, monopolistic behaviors here. What's going on here? We can investigate you and we can fine you substantially for that, right? And close you down and split up your company. There's a lot that they can do there.
The U.S. Department of Justice, the antitrust laws in late 1800s, right? Because this used to happen all the time. And one of the reasons that it happened is these big companies were in bed with the politicians, late 1800s in the U.S. And it was really hard for anybody to win, right? So Teddy Roosevelt did an amazing thing for the U.S. and then the world, that he came in and the people just loved him. Of course, the money hated him. I imagine the articles the press wrote about him at the time were terrible. And he came in and he broke up these huge monopolies, and they created the antitrust laws. And there's a lot of companies that are kind of actually bigger than they probably ever should be. Those antitrust laws have not been enforced, because I think a lot of people in the U.S. government are happy with who those companies are favoring. So they're not using the Department of Justice to break up those monopolies like they should. But it usually turns around. Sometimes, power in the U.S. government changes hands and a different Department of Justice is in charge, and then those monopolies get broken up.
Awesome. We got some new people in. What's up?
Chicago?
Chicago.
But yeah, it's pretty wild news. It's not great. I assume they might have to go back on everything they've said, or they're going to lose like 50% of their business, probably more than the money they'd make.
That's crazy. Hopefully that was just a psychological play, and they're like, "Oh, just kidding. Yeah, we'll take it to $700." But then everyone's happy about it, right? Like, oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I heard also some of the insiders were selling the stock days before this announcement because they knew it was going to crash it. So.
And that's
that's suspect.
That is sus.
Market's back up, everybody. We've had about 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, that's why I went and actually bought another Oscar and minted, and then
you are addicted. You are addicted.
Well, look, I like I already said, like, I mean, I put my money where my mouth is. Like, I don't just like say things, but I think the Sesame Street is really undervalued. I mean, Sesame Street's that is a big, very iconic thing. I mean, my kids still watch, like, they knew who all of those characters are. They're still going on. And anything gold, just from what I've heard, pops in the VeVeVerse. And so I like that. I got a triple digit. So I got a pretty high digit OG Oscar, but then my gold one was lower triple digit gold. So I'll take that.
Nice.
So where do we fall on? Is there a distinction on, hey, if I buy something in the market, has it been minted or not?
I asked him. So I tweeted out to VeVe under their post. They have not responded. Oh, let's see. Maybe they responded. No, they have not responded yet. But let me look at my collectibles and see if like there is any like asterisk around like this has been, crafting has been
yeah, like if I go to buy something like a Cookie Monster, it's 40 gems right now on the market from Satomi Nakamoto. Like I don't, it doesn't say if it's been used already to craft or not.
Yeah, I don't. That's weird. That is weird because then technically people could be like swapping back and forth, and just minting the gold ones and selling.
Yeah, which I really wish they would. I hope they thought about that, and oh yeah, they should really tell you before you buy. I mean,
Yep.
I'd like it if they said, hey, they would have this thing, so this way you can't do it, this way you have to buy from the store. I think that'd be great. Because even if you go and mint one from the store as opposed to buying on the market, okay, on the market this Cookie Monster is $40, but then this Cookie Monster, the gold one, is $30. Wow, the gold ones are selling for less than the price of the actual normal Cookie Monsters.
Because they're free. Anytime that you get something for free, typically, right? Like there's people place a lower value on it.
Yeah, it's a secret rare.
Yeah.
And is it a full set if you go and you get, oh no, you need both of them. You need both of them to get the, yeah, it says the Cookie Monster Gold and Oscar the Grouch. You need both of them to get the full set.
Oh, fascinating.
But that's interesting because you only need one for the full set for Sesame for that one.
Oh, you need you need for the gold, you need a gold Cookie Monster and a gold Oscar to get the gold
to get that full set. Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
That is interesting.
That's cool.
Because if it was just its own set, okay, you basically get a free set. If you get one, well, you would have gotten two free. Yeah. So I don't know.
How they put these little things in here to mess with everyone, and like so you have to like work out what
conversation. Oh, gold ones are still first. Okay, that's interesting. Oh no, yeah. I don't know.
So, so there was a set. Now there's not a set. I thought there was a set. Hold on.
No, it is a set. It's just that if you have a normal Cookie Monster, like this one, it's just one for its own set, so that's fine. But if you craft it and you get a gold one,
do I get a gold one?
Yeah, you can craft. You can craft it. You go.
Yeah, you get a gold one.
So you go into the store, Jordan. Go into the store and click on that one of the gold Sesame Street. You click there, and then you click the one that you have, whether it's Oscar or Cookie Monster, and then it'll say craft.
Cool. This is exciting. This is fun. I like when they gamify it a little bit more. Like they need more of that. We still need the leaderboard, guys. We need a leaderboard.
We need a leaderboard. And then you know what the other thing that I was saying that I really let's see. So yeah, the Sesame Street Gold series is 2. You need both golds for the set. Then Oscar by himself and Cookie Monster by himself are also sets. But I
leveled up.
VeVe would start to make more money. Right. Nice. Hey, all right, 35. Good job, bro.
Slowly but surely.
They can make a lot more money in that, and they could cause people to hold if they did more random airdrops. Because all of a sudden, if it's not announced and things, then people are like, okay, well, what else are they going to airdrop? So, for example, if they airdrop the Tickle Me Elmo to the set holders of the gold, Oscar, and or maybe they did like who was it? It was Mike who was saying that? Or where is that comment there? But anyways, yeah, like they could have sold out basically. Oh, here we go. Omicron. They could have sold out Sesame Easy. They could have dropped Oscar, Cookie Monster, Big Bird, the count for 40 gems, and then airdrop Tickle Me Elmo. Well, what if they just did these each individually, right? And then they airdropped a gold Tickle Me Elmo to the set holders. Then all of a sudden, people start wondering, but they did that randomly to a couple different ones, right? Oh, you hold this set, we're airdropping you this. Now I get it that like the IP, they want their money, but I'm like, they can still get money from the secondary market fees. Yeah. And if they can just talk to their IP about that sometimes they're going to get more from that. And also then people are like, I got to hold everything from this company because they might airdrop me more, right? And so then the values of those collectibles go up. And they're like, well, I will sell this, but I'm only selling it for this because there's a chance now that – so this is the market psychology stuff that like they can really take into play, and it rewards holders. And then twofold, right? It rewards you because if you actually hold it, then you get those airdrops or potentially airdrops. And then on top of that, the prices go up on those on that IP because people are wondering if there's going to be another airdrop that happens. So,
it's so hard to get corporations to make that decision. They almost want to see proof that it works that way in that specific field until they're like, okay. Because they're like, I could lose my job over this if this goes bad. Giving out free, how am I going to explain that to the board, or how am I going to explain that to the CEO? And it takes somebody pretty bold to make that decision. And usually the bigger a company is, the harder it is for somebody to be willing to take that risk.
I think that if we take a look at the Hulks, you had the original Hulk had 4,444, then the Red Hulk 3,000. So, and if you take a look at the, Cookie Monster was 5,000 whatever, and Oscar the Grouch was 4,000 whatever. So maybe the next one's going to be 3,000 whatever. So I think it still could do that, and maybe they just didn't announce it yet. Because I know Disney has to announce every single thing they need, every single utility before they send it out. But Marvel's not that way. So I don't think Sesame would be that way either, where they could maybe just bring up this wasn't announced. So I think that if they do the next one, let's say it's Big Bird or Snuffleupagus, whatever, and then you get that whatever it is, I think they could still do that, and they just haven't told us yet.
But it's not the same. It's not the same because there's no. I can just go. Because it's not sold out. I can just go buy it in the store and get that same benefit, right? So the price isn't going to rise above the retail, the store. Now it might create a sellout, but I like what Mark is saying too, right? Like this is a way that Disney could get around, like not giving out airdrops because it's crafting is a choice. So you don't have to do it. So you're not getting something because the concern is like, does that become a security or, which I don't think. I mean, there's a lot of mechanisms that would have to be in play for them to truly, the SEC to consider Disney NFTs as security. They basically have to market this and be like, this is going to go up in value, all this stuff, right? Like they're just like, hey, this is a collectible. And by the way, just the random unannounced airdrop, like that could create speculation. I just talked about the price will probably go up on that. But if they're not doing it to every collectible, right, then you just don't know. And so it can't be, I mean, look, they would be extremely, extremely, extremely hard pressed to be able to win an argument like that in the courts,
Yeah, if you notice that they're going after these NFT projects, they're going after ones where their chance of winning are high because they won't fight it, right? So what was the Stoner Cats and stuff, some Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, and had they fought that, they would have won. But
I think if they could have raised money, right, and been like crowdfund it and be like,
they would have, right? And I wish who was it, Kim Kardashian or something that got sued for promoting a security, and if she would have fought that and said, you haven't even shown that this is a security, she probably would have won. But the problem is it's kind of like, well, I would have to spend 100 times that for my lawyers just to win, and I don't want to take that fight. But the SEC is not going to go after Disney because Disney's like, okay, let's have this fight. Sure. All right. We're going to win. And we already have, we have all these lawyers sitting around on staff. Let's make them work for it.
Yeah, Disney's already not happy with
it. Shoot. Yeah, we're going to lose because they know they would have lost that had it gone before a fair judge. For whatever reason, they've gotten super crazy and political. I don't know what is driving their agenda, but this stupid idea of making Stoner Cats a security, you might as well make Pokemon cards a security and comic books a security and all this bullshit. Stupid. I remember I was excited when Gary Gensler was appointed at the SEC, thinking, oh, this guy understands blockchain. In fact, he needs to go after himself. I mean, have you seen his video shilling Algorand? I mean, he is promoting a security there. Arrest that guy. Oh my gosh, why is he not in jail? I mean, they don't really arrest him, but that should be a civil lawsuit by the SEC against himself. Why is he not pursuing himself? That was clearly shilling all cryptos are securities, so clearly shilling a security. I mean, where's the enforcement action against Gary Gensler, like past Gary Gensler? Because this current guy is a different Gary Gensler. So why isn't he not suing past Gary Gensler?
Yeah, he also spent so much time with SBF. There's definitely some dodgy stuff that happened there.
Dodgy is exactly the word. Realize that this was the guy that was head of the Hillary Clinton campaign when they were paying Russians to make up dirt and people to make up dirt on Trump for colluding with Russians. Like he was the CFO. Tell me he didn't know about all that dirty stuff going on. This is the same person, the CFO for Hillary Clinton's campaign, that also paid people to go to Trump rallies and start fights so the media could say Trump rallies are so violent. This is the guy that was the CFO over that. So
do you guys? I know we don't normally get too political here, but do you guys
Yeah.
think Trump's coming back in next year?
Well, he'll definitely get the nomination.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have no idea what to expect with this. This is unprecedented territory, right? Like, this is crazy weird stuff.
Well,
So-
he's positive NFTs now, right? Because he has his own NFTs.
What did he call them though? What did he call them? They're collectibles. I think he called them collectible trading cards. It's Trump digital trading cards or whatever like that, right? He's trying to steer clear.
He made a couple million on that too.
Yeah.
He did too.
And if he
drops,
has
I heard.
rights on those, right? Think about how much he'll make in the future off of those.
Yeah.
So, does he make money royalties every time they change hands?
I think so. I believe
Oh,
so.
SEC's
hope so.
coming for him.
Well, that's a good thing, right? If he's into NFTs,
Yeah, because he will fight the SEC on that. That
Yeah.
would be great if they went after him on that. He's like, I guess I need to hire a few more lawyers. Shoot.
But that's the thing. If he becomes the president again, then he's gonna completely wipe out the SEC.
So what's funny is he wasn't very pro crypto when he was president before, and he's like, oh, Bitcoin, people need the US dollar is the currency. Stop worrying about Bitcoin. And I think in the meantime, while he's been out in the wilderness, right, I think he's learned a lot more about what blockchain is and the reasons for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and actually, a lot of the candidates are very Bitcoin friendly, right? Like majority
Most of them, except for Mr. Biden and his lackey, Mr. Kinsler.
So I want to read you guys with the Stoner Cats that there's dissenting commentary, right? From the board of the SEC. Let me read you what they said. Using the analysis of today's enforcement action, the SEC should have parachuted in to save those kids from Star Wars mania back in the day. Like, because they were talking about just collecting things, right? Like, and using your same logic, then all collectibles, all baseball cards, all these things should be securities. But I just should have parachuted in and saved those kids from Star Wars mania. I love it, right? And it just gets right to the point of just how ludicrous some of these arguments are, and just man, what can happen with just these unchecked regulators just going up and literally making laws based on enforcement, right? And trying to establish this as the law through enforcement actions until someone steps up and says, no, let's actually take this to court and have a judge opine on that, right? And then people should be saying, hey, congressman, hey, senator, what the crap, guys? Make some laws around this, right? Get together and figure this all out so we can have a safe space to work, right? There does need to be some regulation around cutting out some of the fraudsters. I mean, there's certain things and simple things they can do to make it a safer space for mainstream to come into play. But
We got some really funny comments here. Biden will forget his stance on Bitcoin. And there's another one, Big Man says, who's Biden? And then he says, it's not loading. Come on, computer. Oh, that guy doesn't know who he is, where he is, what position. I'm pretty sure he proves his pants.
Dude, if somebody comes up with a Feinstein NFT or Mitch McConnell NFT where they're pooping their pants, I'll totally buy it. And just have part of the proceeds go to a company that combats elder abuse or something. So that kind of brings me to a question. VeVe, I don't think they need to raise any money if they're, burning $5.5 billion OMI from their dev wallet and they're donating $1 million to the gem liquidity pool. They probably don't need any money. But I feel like at some point, or generally, you want to raise money when you don't need it. And if they could go and they raise money, I mean, you don't want just any normal VC. You would probably want someone. Trump might be a little too controversial, but maybe they can get someone like Apple. Hey, we've given you so much millions of dollars from fees, whatever. If there was a company that could not buy VeVe, but maybe buy 5% of VeVe, who would you want it to be? I would want it to be Apple. I think
Tesla.
Apple, because Tim Cook is really well connected and they have a ton of money. But what about you guys?
Yeah,
Tesla. I
Tesla.
want
Tesla
Elon
would
Musk
be great.
involved. That'd be awesome.
yeah,
That's a
Elon
good
Musk.
point.
Yeah,
I'm going to give you a contrarian answer that I think everyone will love. And a mocha brand, so Paul Barron will say good things about Ecomi again.
PBN.
All of a sudden, Paul Barron comes on the next day, right? Same day, and he's like, VeVe is back in the game. I was wrong, fam. It's the best thing in the world, you know? And then he's just like
a confession video. Yeah,
oh my gosh.
It's like,
yeah, dude,
he's like the white Cavell. Cavell make a video and be like, yo, why Omi could go to $0? Why Omi could go to $10 literally an hour later?
Yeah, oh man. No, Cavell would be like, hey, I'm back. Doesn't matter about the votes that I had when you guys all asked me to leave. I'm back and Omi's going to $100. But like that's the thing though. It just takes one person like Elon Musk or something to truly talk about Omi or VeVe. Yeah. Right. And I mean, and it would just go bananas.
Because it has some real substance there, unlike Dogecoin, right? Dogecoin is substance-less, and yet he took Dogecoin from half a penny to 72 cents. Mm-hmm. And so, like, something like VeVe and Omi that has some substance, it would go absolutely bonkers. He would be the best investor, better than, because I don't trust Apple 100%. I like them. I like their products. I'm waiting for a Tesla phone because I trust Elon more.
Yeah. I got really drunk on Saturday, and me and my friends, we see this like a trail of like light, almost like a zipper.
I saw you tweet about that.
So I like go on TikTok, I was like, guys, it's aliens, and my friend Dan's in the background, just like, yo, FBI is gonna be rolling up soon. And it was just Starlink apparently.
Yeah.
I've seen those before. It is creepy.
It is trippy.
You're just like, what am I seeing here?
But so when we were asked before, somebody asked what you would put your funds into, and I said Pokemon or Tesla. I've been laughed at before where I said that by the end of the decade, Tesla will be a $6 trillion company. And I feel like that's becoming less laughable now. And just because they have so much with their full self-driving. It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry. They'll get most of it. They're first to market with that. They have 100, I think 50, or I don't know how many millions, 5 million cars on the road. So I think they're driving an average of 150 million miles a day. And that's all going to their supercomputer. That's all going to Doja. And that they're going to have such a big lead. Other companies won't be able to do it. They'll have to license that out. And what they're doing with their Tesla insurance, I think VeVe should be able to do with VeVe NFTs, as far as I think I brought it up before with NFT insurance. Oh, this to make sure nothing happens. And they know nothing's going to happen. It's a walled garden. So people are going to pay for it. And then VeVe's never going to have to pay out. I think that's something that they could do and just print that money machine.
So Randy, I think you weren't here on this show one time when I was talking about Tesla, because I'm a big fan of Tesla as well, and I do a lot of research on it. And it was about all the old automakers getting into the game, into electric cars. And everyone's like, oh, as soon as the big legacy companies come in, Tesla's done, Tesla's dead. And so VW Group, they're pretty much like the biggest competitor in terms of they try their hardest to get all these ID4 electric cars and all these other ones out. And if you look at the electric car sales from VW, every single quarter, Tesla is gapping them and getting further and further ahead. And that was the closest to a legacy company that's a competitor. And they're getting absolutely destroyed. Tesla is so far ahead that they're 10 years, 20 years. They're getting years ahead.
Well, Tesla has the advantage of having new engineers coming out. All the new engineers, they either want to go and work for Tesla or SpaceX. The last 4 years, those are the top two companies they wanted to go to. So I'm not going to say someone like GM or Ford is getting bottom of the barrel, but Tesla has their pick of the litter. And I don't know any young person that's pumped to go to Detroit and work at Ford. I'm ready to go. I just don't know anyone that's doing that. I don't know anyone that wants to. So that lead is only going to get bigger. Tesla's only going to be making more money. Ford's how many hundreds of billions in debt? You have all these other car companies that GM's more of a Medicare medical insurance company now than they are really cars.
Tesla, they're having a really hard time competing with Tesla on the electric cars.
No one will compete.
So far ahead, and they're just doing things right. And so, but what electric cars need to go massive is you need nuclear power. This idea of solar and wind isn't going to happen. It's too expensive to make electric cars really viable. You need cheap electricity. And I think actually the U.S. Congress and other politicians are starting to come around to that, because this other stuff, they poured billions and trillions of dollars into solar. It's just too expensive. Solar panels break down, they wear out over time, they get wind damage, other things. The wind turbines were always dumb. They're too expensive, kill too many birds, other things. Nuclear is, the technology is way better. They're like reactor meltdown safe these days. So yeah, the stuff from the 50s is pretty concerning, but what they can build now is much better.
Rain, have you seen they've got some solid uranium, I forget what they call it. There's the mini nuclear power plants you can get. They build now that they don't melt down. They have no cooling at all.
Yeah.
They don't melt down. So you can do them like on like the street level. So you just have one every few blocks. And it's just like it's like the size of a shoebox, and it will power a whole street, a whole area, and you can have them all around that have microgrids. You have that mixed with solar, mixed with cheap battery storage, and you've got microgrids everywhere.
Yep.
And it's not even dangerous. And you
Yep.
can't remove the nuclear the nuclear waste from it's stuck inside these rods. Yeah, so the new technology is like it's really improved, and yeah, that could easily be the future. So yeah, it's looking good, and yeah, Tesla just they're crazy. I did see last time I mentioned this, there was a competitor, BYD, Build Your Dreams, which is a Warren Buffett Warren and Buffett backed company. So that's like the only other competitor, but that's majorly big in China, not the rest of the world. But they are like they're coming to Australia as well now. My friend just bought one down the road. He's got a BYD. Took me for a drive. Atto 3, ATTO3. That's really fun car, nice car. They're a lot cheaper than Teslas. Overall, they're pretty decent quality. You know, they're Chinese build. Chinese are really high quality now for manufacturing. You know, they are the best in the world now, which is, you know, everything is made in China, but it used to be made not as well. Now it's made better than everywhere else. So, but yeah, other than BYD, but BYD is a new company, right? They're all electric. They're not. It's not a legacy auto company. Legacy auto is pretty much buggered. They're going to
Well,
be out.
one of the reasons is the labor costs, right? So GM and Ford have to compete with the unions, and I think unions were a necessary evil in the early 1900s because the businesses held all the power. But in a fair market, you don't need unions. And so then they demand a wage that cripples the industry and they can't innovate. And so Tesla doesn't have to compete with that. So its labor cost is 1/3 of what Ford and GM pay. And so Ford and GM can't compete and they'll go out of business over time, right? And I love Ford and GM. I love their products. They just, if they take care of the energy grid thing and you have cheap, reliable electricity in the future, most cars are going to be electric. And Ford and GM are struggling to compete with their labor costs being so high.
I thought it was so funny, though, all these environmentalists and cheering for solar. There's this huge solar farm on going from Las Vegas to California, right? Massive solar farm. And it has melted so many birds because the sun reflecting off of the solar panels literally cooks birds in flight. It gets so hot that they fly over it and they have to clean off these birds that then like fall. Yeah, it's terrible.
Melted.
It's
terrible. Worse than the windmill ones.
But yet they don't. The environmentalists don't talk about that, right? Like, and it's crazy. But yeah, like nuclear energy. I get it. I don't know what it is. I mean, whether it's oil or who is behind continuing to prop up the media to tout all these potential dangers of nuclear reactors, right? I mean, we had Chernobyl. That was crazy. But there's a lot of things that they did not do correctly in Chernobyl, right? That had they done it correctly, wouldn't have happened. But even now, like it's so much more efficient. The technology has improved so much that like that's we're gonna have to get there eventually. Like there's not going to be an answer for it otherwise.
Yeah, like literally hydropower and nuclear like is so cheap, and yet that's not where they're going. And I think they want expensive energy. I'm trying to wrap my head around why they really want it, because it has something to do with power and control. And
It comes back to
I can't
petrodollar, right?
understand why they want it. Like I've thought about it a lot, and I still can't say I understand.
It must be to do with the petrodollar, right? As in the US dollars backed by
Maybe.
oil, backed by
Yeah.
petrol.
Maybe.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of why we went to war with Syria, because originally the U.S. wanted to build a pipeline from Saudi Arabia to Europe, undercutting Russia, but they needed to do it through Syria, and Assad's like, no, and then conveniently,
that makes
but
sense.
again, that's just a theory. A Chavez theory could be.
I'm pretty sure if you look at it, like almost every war US has done is because of oil, like majority of them.
Oil, electricity, cheap electricity is power, and energy is power, right? You can't reach certain efficiencies as a country unless you can have cheap power, which is frustrating. Why the Canadian regulators, why the US regulators really hold back everything from being less expensive, because then it would make North America more viable to be able to have more jobs here rather than everywhere else.
100%, 100%. Now, just to bring it back around to Omi VeVe for a second, we've got to wrap up in about 5 minutes. Dr. Stuff's got to go. I've got to go. I'm sure you guys all have stuff to do.
Yes, I got some bachata later tonight. That's, fast forward already.
Some dancing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
you
so
look good,
sexy.
Rain. Rain, you look good.
I
And
appreciate that.
you've had some awesome comments too. Like it's not just
I know.
It's not just me.
Sorry if I lied while anyone else was talking. I'd be reading the comments and I just crack up and I just like, oh man,
It was fire. It was fire.
Let me
awesome.
mute my mic. This is funny.
Yeah, wicked. So, any final thoughts on VeVe and Omi, guys?
I think about things as an investor, as everyone in this audience knows. So it's like the collectibles. Think about why somebody's going to want this down the road. If you're trying to buy it for like something that may increase in value, why would somebody with money, with hopefully a lot of money, be interested and possibly want this down the road and over all the other collectibles out there? And so you're looking for specific items that have a narrative that might take off. And even then you're still guessing. But that's what I think about. So first appearances are a big deal, but also collectibles that really catch on, or things that people identify with. Like the reason Star Wars does so well is all these people that grew up in the 80s now have money. They're doctors and lawyers. And so now they have disposable income. So you're looking at things like that. And then you're looking for a period of time, because like a lot of these things won't be worth much unless we get a big digital collectibles influx. Some of these things, and I think we'll get a big influx of people looking at digital collectibles. But even if we didn't have that down the road, 10 or 20 years, some of these things would be worth massive amounts, because by then a lot of people will move over to digital collectibles. I do think we have a big influx coming again. And you see with the Bitcoin halving, it brings awareness of Bitcoin, which then brings awareness of everything else. And all this money flows in. And that's why I've made all the bets and everything that I have. Everyone asked what you would do with the money, but I didn't answer that. Some commercial real estate. I'm going to buy a nice house. I'm going to have like 10 cars. I'll have a car for every day of the week. This one, like I didn't spend hardly anything last bear market. I put some money to the side, kept a lot of money invested. And so this one, though, I will be spending. It'll be fun.
Awesome. Randy?
So I think that when Rain was talking about an influx of people, you had EY.com that had said, it's the EY's Entrepreneur of the Year finalist. They were talking about David Yu. And they said that in the last part, over the past 2 years, VeVe has established itself as a market leader in the digital collectibles field with its innovative platform and strong user base. The app is used by collectors worldwide, with 35% of its users in the US and 40% in the UK and Europe. Now VeVe is turning its attention to untapped markets such as China and Japan. And they haven't, like, they have the Japan Discord on there. In their Discord, they translated that Japanese. They have Korean, Mandarin, and Japanese on their languages for the app, so they're ready. And they had that semi-announcement / non-announcement with Alibaba. I feel like they could be using that. I know a lot of people are going to find like, oh, it's just like cloud services. There's no, it's just like cloud services. I'll bet you 10 million Omi. It's not just like cloud services. I think they use that for fiat onboarding for them. So I would say what we've seen, and I've seen this in Earth too, so the South Koreans, they'll go into an area, buy up all the significant pieces of land, and they'll move on to another area, and they'll do that with each and every country. So I could picture them coming in and buying these significant first appearances, whether it's Disney, Star Wars, Marvel. It's weird that most of the Marvel's first appearances are in the Marvel Mighties, but they'll buy that and then they'll move on. If you have a couple of really big people, whether they're in hedge funds or in that just want to have access to David and Dan, they'll get busier as time goes on. They'll buy that VeVe logo. But Omi, I think, is that, I guess some of the collectibles are probably going to be safer, but if Omi is now a VeVe product, and they don't just have 2 guys working on it anymore, they have almost a dozen people working on it. We've seen what the app's done in the last year. What could they do with Omi in the next 6 to 8 months? I'm very confident. Any extra money I get goes to that, and that's it.
Awesome. Dr. Stuff?
Yeah, I want to say, so I did a video on my channel where I kind of talk about a lot of the catalysts that are building up, right? So definitely go watch that video and how I think that that's going to impact VeVe and Omi. But this Thursday, I'm going to be doing a live stream, and I'm going to be talking about that Alibaba, the AliCloud relationship, and I'm going to be making some connections there as to what that means. And Ray, you're spot on. Like, I don't think that people realize that a lot of times, like in the Chinese culture, it's all about relationships. Relationships are extremely important. You don't just dive into a big relationship with Alibaba out of the blue, right? You get your foot in the door. They understand your business practices, who you are, and you work your way into something like that. And anyways, I am excited. And again, nothing is for sure, but the more research I do and the longer this goes on, like the more sure I am of VeVe's success. I really am. And just what they're doing. I mean, we kind of talked about this a little bit in the chat, right? But like VeVe was one of the first ones to change from NFT to digital collectibles. And then all of a sudden NFT became a 4-letter word that was tied to like destroying the planet and everything like that, right? But they'd already made the swap. Oh, and before that, they'd already had net neutral carbon emission NFTs, right? And they'd be talking about that. And then they were also one of the first ones to be talk about compliance and how important compliance is, right? They are so far ahead of the game, guys. Like in so many ways, they're constantly thinking about the future. And it's funny because people will sit there and complain. It's like, why do I have to KYC? Oh, XYZ doesn't have to KYC. And I'm like, yeah. And you know what? The SEC is going to come after them, and they're going to be shut down, or there's going to be regulations. They're going to be fined. It's coming. And I'm sorry if you don't like that. I don't like it necessarily. I'm telling you, like, this is the reality. And so we need to have a company that is looking ahead and saying, how can we completely avoid those road traps, right? And bypass them while everyone else is stopped there. That's why VeVe is so far ahead. And that speaks a lot about their business acumen and their thought process on these things. So very bullish about VeVe and Omi. And like, we still haven't seen Omi truly and what Omi can be, right? We saw a glimpse of it with the price pump once they announced kind of some utility. But there is so much more ahead. So stay tuned, fam. And like Jordan's already said, if you guys don't follow us on the socials, follow us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube, right? Like we spend a lot of time out of our day learning and educating ourselves on this stuff so that we can shorten the time frame that you guys have to learn about these things. Obviously, do your own research. We're all independent thought. We have our independent thoughts on certain things, right? But hopefully that's helping inform you. You can kind of go look and do additional research on anything we comment, but it helps us when you like our channel and you subscribe. So I'd love it if you did that for us.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
See you, everyone.